Just sitting is without making any effort and without not making an effort. I'll just give you that again. So just sitting is without making an effort and without not making an effort. I'll give that a go. So the first thing I want to talk about is this essentially is talking about having a balanced effort in your life and in your meditation practice. So we all talk about, for example, getting the right balance between work and everyday life, don't we? Or family commitments. And this idea that there's this sort of perfect balance out there, it's very alluring. And it's the same for meditation practice, this striving for a balance in our practice. This is what Sangharakshita says about this. So when we are practicing mindfulness of breathing that you did last week, and we practice the metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness, conscious effort is required, isn't it? Yeah, we're consciously trying to cultivate mindfulness or loving kindness, but we have to be very careful this effort doesn't become too willful. And this is why we have the practice of just sitting. So every practice of mindfulness of breathing, metta bhavana, according to Sangharakshita and his system of meditation and practice, always requires, ideally, a period of just sitting. This is how he talks about it. It's passivity and receptivity, activity and passivity, mindfulness, just sitting, metta, just sitting. In this way, we develop a rhythm. We take hold of, we let go, we grasp, we open up. There's action, there's non-action. Thus, we achieve a perfectly balanced practice of meditation. And as Monique just described there, within the practice of just sitting, there's a rhythm of, oh yeah, there's some effort, let go. I'm grasping, just release. Yeah, that is the practice that we're trying. It's not about getting something perfectly right. It's more about knowing, oh yeah, it's a little bit too much effort here, release back. It's that sensitivity that this practice helps us to develop. And this is really important because if we use too much willpower, the growth that is starting to emerge, the changes that are starting to happen in our heart and our head, they won't have a chance to blossom. They won't have a chance to mature. The image I like is someone saying, it's a little bit like getting a seed to germinate. So you've put all that effort in, you've got the right soil, you've got the right seedling, you've checked the temperatures, you're looking each day to check there's enough moisture. Sure enough, something starts to grow. And if we're too willful, the image that was given to me, it's like you get the seedling when it's just getting going, and it's like you're pulling it out of the soil. Are you growing? Have you got roots? You know, is it working? And then you put it back in the soil. It doesn't work. There has to be a period, okay, as a good gardener knows, just leave it alone now. You know, just let it do its thing. And it's like that in meditation. Put the effort in with the mindfulness of breathing. Put the effort in with the metta bhavana. And then you can just trust. Just trust, sit back, allow the fruits to be there. Any effort you made, the Buddha said, any effort, however scrappy it is, however much you think you can't meditate, I'm no good at this, I'm not doing it properly, any effort there will be an effect. There will be a consequence. You can just sit back and trust and just allow that to show up, you know. So this image of, I saw a terrible thing on the way here today. I was cycling. Somebody had a T-shirt on and it said, trust no one, trust no one. And yeah, when I was just sitting in that practice just then, I think this is the essence of this practice. It's saying if you can have confidence and trust and faith in your effort and in the teaching of the Buddha that it does work, it's all here. It's all here. You just sit back, relax, like an eagle riding the currents. Yeah. So not too much effort. What else did I want to say about this? So how does this go back to the Pali Canon? How do we find the roots of this in what the actual Buddha taught to his disciples? The teaching I go back to again and again is the teaching to Bahia. Bahia, the famous disciple who got trampled by a cow. That's how he got killed. But he's also very famous for 3 times he asked the Buddha for a teaching. The Buddha was in the middle of an alms round, not now Bahia. You know, I'm collecting my food for the day. Buddha, I need a teaching. It's not the right time, Bahia. It's not going to happen. He doesn't give up. He's persistent. And thanks to Bahia's persistence and not taking a no, the Buddha gives him this teaching. I get the impression he wants to get back to his alms round, so he doesn't mince his words. He gets onto it. And here we have this fantastic, pithy teaching of the Buddha. Bahia, you should train yourself thus. In the seen will be merely what is seen. In the heard will be merely what is heard. In the sensed will be merely what is sensed. In the cognized will be merely what is cognized. In this way, should you train yourself. Then, Bahia, you are not in that. When you are not in that, then you will be neither here, nor beyond, nor between the two. Just this. This is the end of suffering. So for me, that's the essence of this teaching. You are not in that. This practice is actually an insight practice. It is a way of letting go of a fixed sense of self, a sense that there's a big me in the center of the universe and everything else is just kind of on the periphery of that sense of I. This practice starts to dissolve this. And this is what Kamala Sheila says about this being an insight practice. Fantastic book. He's written our first manual on meditation, Kamala Sheila. He's actually at the end of life at the moment. He has a very moving blog. Look him up, Kamala Sheila. He's very generous in his teaching, a fine meditator. And he talks about why just sitting is an insight practice. So it's not just about calming you down. It is about seeing into the essence of reality. Within our object, our concentration tends to build up around a continuous sense of me, the experiencer. But the experience of sitting with this me eventually shows very clearly that it's something indefinite and fluid, what you were describing, Sam, right at the beginning. Not the concrete identity we usually assume. We realise we cannot really identify with this me. And so we're able to widen and even transcend our notion of selfhood. Our experience is the same with all mental events which arise in the course of a session of just sitting. Since they are ultimately impermanent, insubstantial, we cannot identify with them either. We may see that both subjective and objective experience are devoid of any lasting nature. everyone who meditates, even relatively new meditators, can benefit from this practice, though a sound basis in the fundamental practices need to be established first. So I think that's very important. And that's why the rhythm of this system of meditation is just sitting with mindfulness of breathing. Yeah, just sitting with metta bhavana, just sitting with sadhana practice, just sitting with 6 element practice if you're an order member. Yeah, so we need this right at the beginning, that we need to know what we're handling is very, very powerful. And so we need the foundation with how deep this practice is. It needs an anchor. It needs something to hold it. Okay, we will have a tea break in a minute, but there is something else I want to pass on as well that I found really, really helpful. So back to Subhuti. Subhuti has given a very helpful way of approaching just sitting. I only came across this yesterday preparing for this talk. I think it's fantastic. So this comes out of Subhuti talks about this being his main practice now, and this is how he approaches just sitting. These are 5 aspects of just sitting that he talks about. He talks about it in terms of the 5 just. Just settle, just wait, just watch, just enjoy, just sit. So it might be sometimes when we have a period of meditation, like the metta bhavana and the mindfulness of breathing, we can just go to just sit. We're in the zone. We're there. We're receptive. There's nothing to do. The mind's very still. We're already in touch with a sense of contentment. There's not much pulling and pushing of the mind. We're not going into the future. We're not going into the past. Vroom, we're here, just sitting. What if that's not your experience, though? So these just give us a little bit of a landing strip into the practice. So what do we mean by just settling? So just settling is when you notice your mind is like, I love this phrase, a box of frogs. It's just sort of like, it's, you name it, it's doing it. It's not settled. So in a just sitting meditation, what we would do is we're not making any effort. Yeah, we're just kind of knowing that if we just sit with that box of frogs, they will eventually calm down. They will run out of energy. They'll see, oh, okay, we're not going anywhere. She's not opening. All right, let's just have a rest. Or another image you might like is, those snow globes. Yeah, those snow globes as a kid. And yeah, it's like, if you keep picking it up and moving it around, it's not going to work, is it? So you just leave it alone. You just watch it. Yeah, the snow will settle. It will. So find an image, something, or water, muddy water. If you stir it with a stick, that's not going to help it clear. You've got to leave the water alone. Yeah, the mud will drop, it will settle. So that's what we mean by just settling. And that's often why we do body scans, going down into the feet, going down into the earth, gravity. That helps with just settling. Yeah. The other just is just waiting. So the mind might still be a bit jumpy, but not quite as much. So there's a little bit more faith here. There's a little bit more trust that if you can just wait, something else will come into being. There's enough faith, there's enough confidence, there's enough knowledge that everything has to change. So if you're sitting in the meditation really irritated by a particular sound in the shrine room, or this morning for me, squawky parrots out in the garden, that is not a tuneful bird song, eventually it does change. I don't know what they did, but eventually they stop squawking. You just wait. You have trust that there's change. It won't be forever. And then you might be ready just to move into this just watching. So people were saying there that they felt there was some distance, that they weren't quite in it so much. That to me has that flavour of you're just watching, the mind's going into next week and planning. It's like, okay, that's interesting. You're not trying to say bad mind for thinking about the future. It's like, it's more of a more of a curiosity of, whatever. You want to go down a little bit of future? There's a kind of watching. Eventually, it kind of runs out of rope if you just, if you can just watch it in the right way. It's trying not to get involved in it. Like that line, you're not in it. It's kind of, I don't know if that makes it, to me, it has a sense that it's happening over there. It's not kind of me. And then number 4, now this is where we're really starting to cook. Enjoying. It's so important. I don't think we talk about enjoyment enough in spiritual life. Enjoy it. Just see if you can enjoy the currents of past effort. Just if you can have that sense that it's all here. What Monique was saying, it's all here. Just let go. And there will be something pleasant in your experience. If you can just settle down enough, there will be something there enjoyable. It's obviously easier on retreat often. But this is often why we say bring the Buddha to mind. So the Buddhists, a sense of orientating yourself towards a being that was perfectly compassionate, always kind, always understanding of others. It is something about that can be very uplifting and inspiring. So seeing if you can start your meditation, setting up the conditions as Monique was talking about, with something that inspires you. Might be bringing an historical figure to mind. It might be having a flower that is just really, really stunning to look at. Something that gladdens the heart to begin with will set up the practice for enjoyment to be there. And then last of all, the practice of just sitting. So what we're trying to do, I totally understand what people are saying about this aspect of watching and stepping back. I think that is an important part of getting to just sitting. But eventually, what you might start to experience is this idea of an I and an idea of an object in the meditation, whether that's the breath, the body, the Buddha, a thought, a pain in your back, whatever it is. Eventually, it's as though that division, that gap, doesn't make sense anymore. And there's just this flow of life. Where's the I? I don't know. Where's the object? I don't know. And it's something about that flow, the rhythm. It might be there's this sense of letting go, release. But just seeing if you can just let that be.